It's All Things Considered, and I'm Dave Lawrence. Today we're continuing our off-the-road interview series, connecting with artists around the world during the pandemic and welcoming back an internationally successful guitarist with strong Hawaii ties. You can hear everyone we've spoken with so far at hawaiipublicradio.org. Just look for the Off the Road banner on the front page. And today it's George Benson, who has a tasty new live album, Weekend in London, recorded at the famous Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club, and of course a play on the Weekend in LA famous live album he's got. He's a musician who at one point was a Maui resident, as George shared in a previous appearance on the show, and he also told us how his first instrument was an ukulele. And perhaps we can get him to play a little for us today as we welcome the great George Benson to our Off the Road interview series.
This is George Benson. How are you?
Hey, my brother. Listen to that beautiful voice.
You made me bring my ukulele.
Yeah.
Can you hear this thing, man?
Sounds amazing. Just a huge aloha, mahalo, and welcome back, my brother.
Aloha and mahalo.
As we get started, where are you right now, George? And is this where you've been since the pandemic started?
Yeah, I've been here in Paradise Valley, Arizona. That's where I live. It's sunshine here all the time. Got lots of friends here. And my four sons live here also.
And so, dialing back, when this pandemic started, tell the story, if you can, George, of where you were, how you remember it impacting you, and those moments when you realized, George, something big was about to happen.
Well, you know, every year I do tours in different parts of the year. We don't like to go out when it's cold in the rest of the country. I'm talking about on the mainland of America.
Yep.
During the latter spring, we start up. By the time summer comes, we're into like a 3-week tour, and we may do another 3-week tour somewhere else in the world, like Europe or Australia.
Okay.
So during the year, we end up doing about 8 weeks worth of work, and we stick other things in between, special events. And I was home, you know, thinking, hey, I got some time before I go out on the road, so let me get happy here and jump in my jacuzzi, maybe the swimming pool. And this place reminds me of the house I had in Hawaii. It's a little bigger, I should say a lot bigger, to tell you the truth. But the sunshine is about the same, only it's a little hotter because, you know, there's no ocean near me, so
Right.
we straight heat. The rest of that story, all of a sudden, we started hearing noises about a new disease coming along. And we're trying to compare it to what we've already experienced with SARS and things like that. And every year we get the flu that come through and take a lot of our citizens out here.
Right.
But this one was different. It started taking people out a little at a time, and then it amplified. Every few weeks, it got a lot bigger. They started reporting numbers that didn't make any sense. Then it started spreading all over the country and eventually all over the world. We started hearing reports from all the places I play outside of the United States, like Australia, Europe, parts of Europe, and Italy was big. And then it attacked the UK. I said, no, nothing can attack the UK. But yes, it attacked the UK too. And now I can't even go over there until this thing is brought, you know, under control. I'll tell you what it did do, though. It helped me to become closer to my sons because every year I've been out, you know, and I'd come back and my boys would be an inch taller or 3 inches taller.
Right.
And I'd start asking them their age. I couldn't figure out their ages anymore, you know. So there was some things about it that made life different for me. And those are the things I just mentioned.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And through this, we've been doing a whole series off the road talking to artists, and many have said sometimes there are fringe benefits like getting that extra family time and being able to maybe appreciate things just a little bit more. Sounds like and thank you for the great explanation on how you do your touring. It sounds like this thing affected tour plans. Is that the case?
Yes. Well, we actually lost one member of my band through an illness that he had. He passed away on us about 4 or 5 months ago. With my band for about 5 or 6 years. One of the best drummers I've ever had in my band.
What's his name?
His name was Kahari, from Chicago. Beautiful family man, excellent musician, and a very congenial person. And I kind of really hate that happened, but it didn't happen because of this disease.
Got it.
He had something else. Um, the whole band, I felt bad when the disease hit right after that in a heavy way. The musicians, I thought, well, they're not going to have anything to eat after a while. You know, they're used to touring and paying their bills, you know, mortgages and sending their kids to college and buying cars because of our touring schedule, which was always enough to give us a decent life. And when they were off, they could file for unemployment and get it easily, which isn't so easy now all of a sudden.
Right.
So it's pretty strange.
On that note of losing him, there were so many, before we turn to the record, there were so many gifted artists of many genres. I'm thinking of Ellis Marsalis or Manu Dibango, John Prine, Toots Hibbert, Toots of the Maytals. Anybody that has passed because of the virus, or have any of these passings I just named been personal losses for you?
No, every time you mention a name that I know, I feel a personal loss because they had something to do with, I guess they affected all of us in some way or another. But the ones I knew affected me, and all the memories started coming back, you know. I met Ellis Marsalis when he introduced me to his two young sons,
Wow.
Winton
Bradford.
and Brantford. He was the older one. He was 14, and Winton was 13 years old when I met them. And I remember little young Winton. We were playing at a park in Louisiana, and we had 125,000 people in that park. And I remember that the Neville brothers came to, you know, see me backstage. And this fellow I never met, Mr. Marsalis, Ellis Marsalis, who had his sons, and his young son, after having a conversation with me, and he realized how much ruckus there was over me and my band, he came up to me and said, "Mr. Benson," I said, "Yeah, what is it, son?" He says, "When I grow up, I'm gonna be just like you." That's what he said to me.
Wow.
And you know, I forgot all about it until I saw him 4 years later in New York. He walked up to me. Now he was a grown man, well dressed, you know, just to a pinhead. He was clean as a whistle. And he said, "Mr. Benson," you know, in his cool way of talking, because he's highly intelligent. He says, "You probably won't remember me." I said, "You know something? Your face looks familiar." He said, "In New Orleans." And I said, "Oh, your dad brought you to the." I said, "What are you doing in New York, man?" Because I couldn't realize 4 years had leaped by that fast. And now he was a grown man. He was as tall as me almost. And he said, "I'm playing with the Art Blakey band." And I said to myself, "Well, he must be good. If he's playing with Art Blakey's band, he's got to be good." And he said, "I was wondering if I could sit in." What I forgot to mention earlier is that I was there at the club owned by the two brothers. It was called 7th Avenue South. Randy Brecker and his brother
Michael.
Michael Brecker owned the club. And they had jam sessions upstairs on the second floor. So that night it was Tom Brown, and he asked if he could sit in with us. I said, "Boy, I hope he knows he's in some heavy company." He went up on the bandstand, and between him and Tom Brown, they blew the roof off of that place. They didn't need me for anything. I was up there with my guitar, but it was just dangling from my neck. I was busy listening at this magnificent playing that was going on. And I think Freddie Hubbard walked in,
Wow.
and he was knocked out too.
What a great story. And what a great way to remember Ellis, too. And that, I mean, what can you say? That's some really touching stuff. We had Randy on just a few weeks ago. Wonderful musician.
Incredible musician. He was on a lot of my earlier records. I think he was playing with the group from Canada. What was their names? Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Right, late 60s, exactly.
Yeah, great musician himself, and that was a great band.
It's the latest guest in our series, George Benson, and tomorrow we'll continue with storytelling based around his new live album, Weekend in London, with George even playing a little ukulele and singing for us. You can find and share this and the complete series at hawaiipublicradio.org. Just look for the Off the Road banner on the front page. I'm Dave Lawrence.
You've got the love, you've got